join a little bit. They will join. We will start the program. Good evening, dear participants, and hearty welcome to the 6th day. This is the last day of this 1-week online international faculty development program on trends and trend setting in the mid-21st century, organized jointly by Department of English, St. Joseph's College for Women, Visakhapatnam, and English Language Teachers Association of India, Visakhapatnam chapter. Today's topic for the day is reflective teaching and learning. Now, before I hand over to the moderator, I just want to remind, since it's the last day, to all the virtual participants who have joined here, that there'll be 2 links to be posted in the chat box. One is the feedback form of today's session. The second link would be the assessment test. So kindly do both the forms to get the e-certificate. Now I request Dr. Tonia Grace, Assistant Professor, Department of English, St. Joseph's College, to introduce the resource speaker to the virtual participants, and she will be the moderator for the day. Over to Dr. Tonia Grace.
Thank you, ma'am, for giving me this opportunity. First and foremost, I would like to extend my thanks to Dr. Sister Shaiji for her encouragement. And I also thank our dear HODs, Dr. Sudha and Dr. Nalini, for this pragmatic, for planning and executing this pragmatic FDP. And on behalf, and I also extend my thanks to Ramni ma'am for all her technical support. And on behalf of St. Joseph's College for Women, I welcome the distinguished eminent guest speakers and all the participants from different parts of the world to the grand finale of the 1-week international faculty development program on trends and trend setting in the mid-21st century. And before we take heed of today's thought-provoking and captivating topic, reflective teaching and learning, I take this opportunity to introduce today's speaker, Dr. Neeraja Raghavan, Director of Thinking Teacher, Bengaluru. Dr. Neeraja Raghavan is the founder director of Thinking Teacher and the author of several research papers and books, including The Reflective Teacher and Teaching Tales and Learning Trials. She holds a doctorate in chemistry from Princeton University, USA, and has worked as a professor at Ajim Premji University, Bengaluru for almost 8 years. She has also been the principal of several schools all over India. Now I will, ma'am, I would like you to take over. Thank you for accepting our invitation. Now I invite you to take over.
Thank you. Thank you for your kind introduction. Thank you for this opportunity, St. Joseph's College. It's my pleasure always to interact with teachers. I enjoy working with teachers. So without further ado, I would like to share my screen with you. So as the introduction was quite clear that this is my topic, I will be speaking today. Is there somebody who needs to mute, Dr. Sudha? Yeah. I will be speaking today on reflective practices in teaching and learning. Some explorations. So as a person who works in teacher development, these were some of my concerns. And I think as I list them, you might share some of them with me. And it's basically an answer to the question, why should one engage in reflective practice at all? Why should one reflect? I think many of us will agree that a teacher's job is quite repetitive. We teach the same content year after year to different batches of students. So the repetitive nature of a teacher's job, it makes it very easy for us to fall into one set behavior pattern. We think it's almost predictable. So what happens is this can lull the teacher into an illusory sense of competence, like I've got it, I know it, I've got it all. And if at all there is some space for teacher development, teachers are usually sent to a one-size-fits-all workshop. By sent, I mean they are not asked for what their need is. Mostly heads of institutions send teachers to workshops which have already been designed and planned around a certain. Seldom are teachers asked, what is it that you want to learn? Where do you feel you need professional development? Mostly because institutions have a large number of teaching faculty and they find it impractical to have specific customized development programs for their faculty. And more often than not, teachers look up to a resource person for fulfilling their needs. They seldom tap into each other's wisdom. And they do acquire considerable wisdom over the years that they teach. But that is often not even noticed. So I felt that just a bit of reflection can turn things around. And it was not just a feeling. I will be sharing with you true cases of where it really did turn things around. So a few questions. Maybe we can ask, how can teachers want to reflect? It was one of my questions too. I may think it's important that teachers reflect, but can teachers be made to want to reflect? Can it become something that's on their agenda, not just mine? And if yes, what are the possible routes to making them see its value? And are there any alternatives to this one-size-fits-all workshops that teachers are sent to? You know, we tell teachers that they should look at the individual differences of their students and they should not just teach, en masse to the entire class. But when it comes to teachers, we treat them as one mass. We don't realize that they're also individuals, unique individuals. Are there more individualistic ways of engaging with teachers? Why must they always depend on a resource person or a head? And very often when I do talk about this to teachers, they say, are you now giving me one more task? Is reflective practice an added expectation? Teachers already have loaded days over and above all the numerous tasks that a teacher has. Are we telling them, here's one more thing you have to do, reflective practice? So here is my submission. No. Given that a teacher's task includes so many things like these: lesson planning, lesson transaction, assessment, evaluation designing, checking answer sheets, writing reports, attending staff meetings, meeting parents, planning events like assemblies, annual days, exhibitions, even this event that you've planned for 6 days. So much work must have gone into it by all of you. Preparing students to participate in such events, supervising extracurricular activities like school magazines, clubs, etc., etc. And of course, substituting for absent teachers, the bane of a teacher's life. Given that a teacher has hardly any free periods in a day, those free periods disappear when somebody is absent and you have to go and take that teacher's class as well. Preparing them for those frightening exams. And today's online era, there is added work of uploading videos, conducting online classes, learning how to maneuver cyberspace, juggling then between household work and online sessions because they're working from home. And of course, straining eyes with all the screen time. So is it then an added expectation, reflective practice? No. If you look at the picture I have here, I don't know if you can see it clearly. I have a picture of a tanpura. You know, in our classical music concerts, whether they are Carnatic or Hindustani, there is always this drone in the background. And that tanpura is what determines the scale, the pitch of the performer. And we seldom notice the tanpura. When do we notice it? When the performer pauses for some reason, maybe to drink a glass of water or in between compositions. And then we suddenly hear the drone. Actually, the drone has been going on all through, but we hear it only when there is a pause. And then we realize that drone was determining the scale of the whole performance. So my submission is reflective practice is like that drone. Dr. Sudha, may I request that we mute other participants? My voice is echoing on someone's computer.
Yes, ma'am, surely. We'll do that. We'll do that.
Thank you. So I'm defining reflective practice like this. if one can begin to ask oneself questions like, how should this be taught? Why is it important for students to learn this? We seldom ask this as teachers because we feel that's not a question we even have the right to ask. There is a prescribed curriculum, there is a prescribed textbook, and we have no choice. We have to teach this. But why not ask this question? Why was it prescribed in the first place? There must have been some thought that went to it. Can we as teachers also participate in that thought at least? When is it best for them to learn it? How did my class go today? Why wasn't I getting the attention of many students in today's class? What did I assume about my students? We realize we assume something only when we get a shock or even a surprise. That's when we say, oh, I used to think this, but obviously it's not true. And how and when do we as teachers believe learning happens best? Where can I go to develop better communication skills? How can I engage with parents of my students so that they feel trusted? And what can we do to enliven staff meetings? Even a few of these questions, they must be buzzing in our minds. And like the drone of the Tanpura, we don't give them much attention. Unless we pause like the performing artist and we hear the drone and we take note of it. That's the beginning of reflective practice. The pause and the observing. Now, how do we go about engaging in reflective practice? There are so many ways. I'm going to talk about just a few approaches that Thinking Teacher has adopted. The first is action research. This can be done during the course of the workday. I will explain what is meant by this. We also tried something like a board game. I will describe that to you. But this is played by a teacher at their own convenience. And it was played 20 minutes at a time, twice a week. And reflective writing, a course which we have been offering as a 5-week online course. 2 one-hour sessions weekly with a homework assignment in each session. These are just 3 ways that we have tried in Thinking Teacher. So the first thing I'm going to do is explain action research. What is action research? Actually, many of us are doing it. We just don't know that that's the name. Here are the steps. The first thing in action research is to identify a problem. What is it that I want to change? Action research is change research. It is not academic research, just finding out some information. No, one has to bring about a change on the ground through action research. So the first step for the action researcher is to identify what it is that he or she wishes to change. Having identified, they have to then analyze the problem. What do I mean by analyze the problem? They have to look at why is it a problem at all? What made it a problem in the first place? How many people are facing this problem? Like supposing it is something to do with English skills, writing skills, speaking skills. How many people are facing this issue? And so on. Having understood the problem in depth, then the researcher, the teacher tries to identify different strategies for actually addressing the problem. Many ideas may come to mind, but only one by one can they be implemented. That is the next step. And once they are being implemented, as each strategy is being implemented, the researcher has to observe whether it's working, how it's working, if it's not working, why it's not working, finally reflect on the whole process. I think it's very commonsensical. There's no rocket science in this. I'm sure we are doing this in our day-to-day lives. We didn't know we were doing action research. And then the cycle can start all over again. And put briefly, it has these 4 steps. Plan, act, observe, and reflect. And this can go on spiraling into many cycles.
ఇబ్బంది అవుతుంది సార్. ఫస్ట్ చాలా సఫర్ అయ్యాను అని చెప్పాలంటే, కాకపోతే తప్పట్లో కూడా అది ఓన్ హౌస్ సార్ మాది. తను కూడా అక్కడే చేస్తుంది జాబ్.
A book came out of our work, which was the compilation of 7 teachers' action research. And this was while I was working with the Azim Premji Foundation, where different teachers in a school in Uttarakhand, they addressed problems like this. And the problems were as follows: improving the English vocabulary of students. And this can be seen on YouTube in this video. And another teacher who taught EVS to students and the medium of instruction in the school was Hindi, he found that in his class, there were some students who were not comfortable with Hindi. And he didn't want to become the Hindi teacher. So his action research was to teach EVS to students, even though the medium of instruction was something they were not comfortable with. He managed to work around that problem. Another teacher said, I want to teach science in a way that students begin asking lots of questions. And then another teacher said, I have to teach math to a mixed class of 6th graders. In that class, some didn't even know what place value was. Well, there were some who were at the 6th grade level. How to teach math to this mixed class? That was the action research. And yet another teacher wanted to improve the Hindi reading and comprehension of students. All these can be seen in the research publications that we carry. And the most beautiful outcome, one of the most beautiful outcomes was that a teacher with 17 years experience, at the end of the action research, this was her reflection. She said, before doing action research, my focus used to mainly be on completing the syllabus. But while doing action research, I realized that far more important than completing or not completing the syllabus is to find out how much each child has understood. So action research is so powerful that even if you are a teacher with 17 years experience, it can cause this kind of a shift. Another experience of action research, this is one of my favorite examples. Pardon me if you've heard this before. So a teacher of EVS in a residential school, she was teaching grades 4 and 5 in a residential school. And she's a senior citizen. She was previously the needlework teacher and dining hall manager in that residential school. And she stepped into the shoes of a highly popular EVS teacher. He was a male teacher and highly popular young man. He left for some reason. And the principal asked her, because she was a science graduate, to take over. It's a very big disadvantage, as we all know, teachers, to step into the shoes of somebody who was highly popular. Children expect us to do exactly what the previous teacher did. And these children were no different. And not only that, they saw her as their needlework teacher and dining hall manager, elderly lady. So they treated her like a grandmother. She is also a person with a very she's a person with a soft temperament. She didn't find it easy to be firm. So classroom management was a huge challenge for her. So she undertook action research, and her journey is very aptly described in the research paper that was an outcome of her action research. Within a matter of 4 months, she turned her class around and is today one of the most popular teachers in her school. In 4 months, she became a very popular teacher for the EVS that she taught. Some examples of other action research problems. One teacher wanted to excite his students about chemistry, which he did successfully through his action research. Another teacher wanted to develop a sense of responsibility in middle schoolers. Yet another had to don a new role from being just a teacher to becoming a mentor. She was very nervous about this, but her action research helped her to get comfortable and she transcended her nervousness. Yet another teacher wanted to enhance the level of discipline in middle school. And another teacher said, I want my students to be curious. They're learning science as if it's just a set of facts. I want them to be really curious and investigative. That was her action research. Yet another teacher in an alternative school said, I want to bring about a balance between rigor and fun. Because alternative schools, the first casualty usually is rigor. Many teachers join alternative schools with this misunderstanding they have that alternative school means everything is fun. There's no need for any rigor. So this was a headmistress who said, I want to get teachers to understand that there has to be a balance between rigor and fun. So each of these teachers, they revisited their assumptions even as they cracked their action. And there was one-on-one facilitation of the action research problems of interest to each of these teachers. Now I go on to tell you a method of using stories where I'm sure I don't need to convince any teachers here that stories are very powerful. Which teacher does not use stories as part of their pedagogy? We combine, a thinking teacher, my colleagues and I, we compiled 10 stories about teaching and learning in the Indian school scenario. And we brought out this book called Teaching Tales, Learning Trails. This is called fictionalized fact. What we mean by that is the stories are not entirely true, they're not entirely fiction. They're a combination of fiction and fact. And these stories were followed in the second section by a discussion by different stakeholders, parents, teachers, teacher trainees, students, and principals. And the whole idea was that stories were intended to provoke reflection and discussion. So teachers, we know they are reading these stories, but we didn't know if they were really discussing them. So we then devised what we call the board game, the second method I mentioned in the beginning, where we asked teachers to read a couple of pages at a time from a story in the book, Teaching Tales, Learning Trails. And we gave them one of 3 cards. And we said, pick one of 3 cards. And each of the cards had a different question. They had to reflect on the question contained in the card and share with the team members. There were teams of 3. And for 20 minutes a day, twice a week, teachers played this game and reflected on various aspects of teaching and learning. And the last method I spoke about, which was reflective writing, was an online course, it still is, 10 online classes for teachers, where teachers read, discuss, reflect, and write. And we choose readings ranging from John Holt to Parker J. Palmer to Tara Westover. And we watch TED Talks, short clips. We even read newspaper middles. And we discuss issues of interest to teachers like student issues, parental concerns, report cards, and of course, a teacher's dilemmas. And as we share different perspectives, we listen to each other, read aloud our writings. Teachers, although they expect students to write, not many take out the time or find the time to write themselves. This course gives them that opportunity. And many have said, now I'm continuing to write. I never did it before this course, but now I'm doing it. You can find more in our website of samples of teachers writing. So this was another method we adopted. There are several videos on reflective practice, and you can go to YouTube and find them. I would just like to talk about this one instance here. It's a rather long video, so I won't be showing it. Here was a principal. She's a principal of a school in Bangalore. And her passion was, she said, I'm always deciding what my teachers need to learn. I don't want to do that. I want them to take charge of their own development. Why should I be why should it be so principle driven? I would like teachers to get empowered to take charge of their own development. So initially, she came up with strategies like, let me think of getting them to make a vision statement for our school. Let them collectively brainstorm on a vision statement. And she thought, should I plot them on a career graph? A little bit of reflection and discussion with other teachers in our reflective community made her realize 2 things. She said, our school already has a vision. What am I going to get out of making them discuss a new vision statement? We have to align ourselves with the vision of the school, the existing vision of the school. As for career graph, she said, these teachers have already been with me for a few years. It's not nice of me to plot them on a career graph and say, you are above, you are below. I should, in fact, make them feel valued and trusted, not judged and evaluated. So she dropped those ideas after some reflection. And after reading a number of papers and discussing with members in her group, we call the small group a cluster, she reformulated and, in fact, rejected these 2 ideas totally. Instead, what did she do? She asked her teachers, can you examine where you have made unnecessary compromises, what you deem unnecessary, personally, as well as professionally, despite a nagging feeling of misalignment with the larger picture. Look at how she's trying to draw out individual feelings of discontent, keeping the larger vision as the backdrop against that canvas. Then she said, can you articulate what you see in our existing school practices as being out of sync with the school's vision? Here she was encouraging them to be critical. Things that they may be doing in school, even though they're professing something very noble and high sounding in their school vision, maybe they're not doing it on the ground. So she said, let's open our eyes and look at it. Can you spot any such thing? And then she said, now identify which of these areas you would like to work on so as to align it with the vision. Can you see what a complete turnaround from where she started? She wanted teachers to take charge of their own development, and for which she discovered she had to first relinquish charge. What I mean is, she had begun with very principle-driven methods, and she realized that she had to get off that chair. She had to make it teacher-driven, because that's what she was finally aiming for. So it's a very beautiful video. I encourage you to see it. It's on YouTube in our channel. And she talks about her journey, her reflective journey in that clip. How can a learner be reflective? We've talked about teachers so far. What about learners? So there's another book we brought out from Thinking Teacher called The Reflective Learner. The subtitle is Seeing Missed Takes in Mistakes. The fundamental premise of this book is nobody makes a mistake knowingly. And if one can look at the basis of a mistake, there is a takeaway, which we are missing when we just dismiss it as a mistake. There's a missed take in a mistake. So there are 4 examples in this book of teachers using the missed takes to make their learners more reflective. After spending considerable time, first in creating an easy ambience for students to discuss, openly air what mistakes they had made. This every teacher had to spend time in doing. Because given our culture, we have what I call the right answer syndrome. We have to get it right. And if we get it wrong, we're very ashamed. We're often even humiliated. So these teachers had to first unlearn that. And the students had to unlearn that attitude. First, they had to create an ambience where they said, everybody, including me, your teacher, makes mistakes. So let's give examples to each other of the mistakes that we make. And it took more than a month for some of them to first create that atmosphere where we could in a friendly way, they could visit each other's mistakes, look at them, examine them, scrutinize them without feeling judged. Then when they began to examine their errors, students began to examine their errors, they saw the basis of their errors. It could be because of their thinking, something they thought wrong. It could be just careless mistake. They had not paid attention. Or it could be their understanding was wrong. They had to learn it all over again. So they actually examined, why did I make this mistake? Was it just a careless mistake? I know the answer. Or was it that I wasn't thinking enough? Or do I really need to be taught this all over again? And the beautiful thing that happened was the line blurred between teacher and learner. There wasn't a very distinct teacher and a distinct learner. What do I mean by this? One teacher, she discovered, before she gave one worksheet out to her 5th grader, she said, let me try and work it out. To her horror, she discovered she was herself unable to answer one of the questions. And she was expecting her 5th graders to answer it. She got a huge learning from that. She said, hereafter, before I distribute a test paper, I am going to first see if I can answer all those questions within the allotted time. If I can't do it, what right do I have to expect my students to do it? So she always tried answering it before giving it to the class. She continues that practice. Another teacher, he teaches English. He discovered that when his students were making more English errors than before, it did not necessarily mean that their writing skill had gone down. Why? Because in the beginning, these students were very diffident. They were very underconfident. They didn't feel they could write more than simple sentences. So they wrote simple sentences. So they had maybe about 10 errors in a page. Slowly, as their confidence grew, they started writing complex sentences. Now, as we all know, complex sentences are tougher to write. And definitely there is greater scope for making mistakes when you write complex sentences as compared to when you write simple sentences. So the number of errors went up. But this teacher reflected and said, doesn't it show that their confidence has gone up? And that's why they're making more number of mistakes, which means I cannot say that their writing skill has gone down. That chapter is called 2 Wrongs Can Make a Right. So when this teacher was reflecting on the basis of the errors, this teacher realized that in a hurry, he would have just marked these students as their performance is deteriorating. Because he paused and he reflected, he was now able to see that in fact they were improving. On the surface, it may have seemed as if they were deteriorating, but they were not. So a short time, another teacher discovered, just spending a short time in one-on-one engagement with the student while distributing corrected work. Not even more than a minute or two. When the teacher came into class and was going to distribute corrected notebooks or corrected worksheets, she took time. She gave them all some work to do. And as she called out the student's name, she called them to her desk and just spent 1 or 2 minutes with each student explaining why she had marked a particular question the way she had marked it. She found that was such a valuable investment of time. It worked wonders. And what happens when a head of a school reflects? I'm going to share with you a short 16-minute clip here. So I'll need to stop share and share again. Give me a minute. If you can't hear the video, please stop me.
Regularly, it will remain the same. That is, to develop strong reading habits as a part of curricular activity and in turn to raise their self-esteem. Now, that the outcome that you are expecting is going to be the same, whether the teachers do it or whether you guide the teachers. But since you are the action researcher here, will you be doing the same whether you interact with children or with teachers? Depending on whether you're interacting with children or with teachers. If I'm interacting with children, I'll be interacting with, say, one particular group, maybe 4th standard or 5th standard. But the teachers that I have chosen for this activity, they're interacting with all the 3 groups, 3rd standard, 4th and 5th, that is age group of 8, 9 and 10. So I'll be getting a clear picture of what an 8-year-old is able to do and what a 9-year-old is able to do and a 10-year-old child will be able to read. So if I take it up as a part of research activity and then we conduct that I may not be able to do justice with my admin work. If Lalita do the same kind of engagement, if she's engaging with teachers, as if she's engaging directly with children. Absolutely, yes. Oh, really? You do the same thing with teachers? Yeah, to follow up with what they have done. So following up with teachers is the same work that you would do with children? You excite them. Okay. So these are 2 different roles. Completely different roles. You see? What you are expecting teachers to do with children is what you were originally planning to do with a small group of children. Am I right? Yes. But you realize as a principal, you cannot devote that kind of time. And the domino effect, the multiplier effect, makes much more sense for the principal to engage with teachers and the ripple effect. They will engage with many more children. Then it's a much wider reach. Yes. So that I understand your very sound reason for changing your action. Teacher. Yes.
తగ్గించావా నువ్వు
Dr. Sudha.
Unmuted, Dr. Neeraja. Yeah. This is what I'm constantly muting. I'm so sorry.
But your first step, Lalita, then, is to reframe your action research problem. Otherwise, it's going to be very confusing. You're going to wait for things to happen and nobody, because it's not their action research. Exactly. Take it up as their action research. Exactly, Neeraja. Because every fortnight, maybe once in 2 weeks, I'm having a meeting with small group of English teachers. When I ask them what is happening, our children exactly. Nothing would have happened. Nothing would happen. Yeah. I'm not surprised. Yes. Because it is not their action research. Your first step is to make it their action research. Your action research is to make it their action research. Finally, that is all your action research. After that, they will do. It will not just happen by itself, because who is excited about it? Only Lalita.
Yes.
So Lalita's job, first job, is to excite those teachers about it. That is your action research.
Hmm.
So how would you frame that action research problem?
To engage teachers in bringing out reading habits in students.
Could we start with that? Yeah. So instead of engaging teachers, you want to make it something a little more strong. So just engaging. To enthuse.
Enthuse.
To enthuse teachers.
Hmm.
To draw out a love for reading in their students.
To derive or draw.
Draw out. It has to be drawn out of them, the love for reading.
To enthuse teachers to draw out the
Love for reading in their students. And make it a habit, reading habit.
for reading.
It's not enough if they just love reading. It has to become, you want them to have a reading habit, right?
Yes, it should be a culture of the school. Culture
Yes.
of school.
So you want to write that in your action research problem.
So it's a total shift.
The total shift.
The total shift.
So now you can, now Lalita is not going to expect her teachers to suddenly get excited. It is Lalita's job now to excite them. That is her action. You see what I'm saying? How many teachers are you going to work with? That's my first question.
Eight teachers.
And you're sure?
8.
Okay. On what basis did you select these 8 teachers?
These teachers out of 8, 3 are proper English teachers. You know, they teach only English. The other 3 are English and social science combination.
So
But
based on
they are
subject.
interested. Yes, they are interested in reading and bringing out that reading. And I have another 2 teachers who don't teach, but they are assistant teachers and they read well.
Okay.
They think reading.
If I can put it in a nutshell, you chose teachers who are likely to take it forward either because of the subject they teach or because of their already present interest.
Yes.
Am I right? Very good way to start, because you're starting not with a difficult group. You're starting with a group which is already, it's like we say, preaching to the converted, you know. They're already slightly converted. So you're preaching to them, it's okay. They will listen. Very nice.
They themselves read. I've seen them, hold a book and read sometimes on, when they don't have a class. And then they suggest some books to be added to library. And then they come up.
What do you think are the reasons the other 4 are not yet excited about? Do you have any idea or you don't know?
I feel that I have forced on them because they don't read. They to bring the other 4 out of 4. I think at least 2 might get excited.
So it's not a totally they're not bored or something. They just need that push, right?
Yes.
Okay. So then I want to ask you, were you always a good reader?
Apart from that's what I have also shared this, Neeraja. I have never read big stories and novels for a long time, but I'm interested in reading short articles about some invention, some scientist biographies. This is what interests me. But I have not read for that hard reading. Easy read I can always do.
Have you read books or only short pieces, articles?
Short articles, Neeraja.
You never read any books, big
No.
books, never.
No.
Okay. So what do you think has stopped you? Is it availability, access?
No, Nivedita, I have a lot of books. I buy books, but I don't know. I haven't completed anything. I start and then I'm not able to complete it.
Why? Maybe you need to examine that. Yeah. Why I'm asking is, it's not important that Lalita turns into an avid reader, but if Lalita turns into an avid reader,
I need to
definitely excite her teacher. They will see the transformation in front of them. It's not essential, but it's highly desirable.
Yes.
Yeah. And you will learn a lot because inside you also there is some resistance, obviously. If you understand your resistance, you can help another person with theirs. Until you understand yours, you won't be able to fully help another with theirs.
True.
For your teachers, ask each one to suggest one story which really inspired them. For all of you to read together, one paragraph somebody will read, another paragraph somebody else will read. You can even have a WhatsApp group where you're doing this audio clip every morning to each other. You're dying to know what's happening in that story next day. These are all ways of getting people excited to read.
It's such a big transformation, Neeraja.
Yeah.
Not just reframing my AR, but also one main strategy that I can, it is feasible also.
Yes, it's very feasible. It's very feasible. And because your action research now is not with the children. It is with your teachers, group of 8 teachers. So get them to ask you questions for analysis. I've just asked you 3 or 4. I'm sure they'll come up with many more. Then we'll come to the strategies. We've just discussed one strategy today. We'll come up with many more. Yeah? But I'm not at all surprised that your teachers did not respond till now, because it was not their action research. It was yours.
They would get excited. They were thinking that, okay, ma'am is going to give us something ready-made.
Exactly.
But how much
it is ma'am? I don't blame them because it is ma'am. When ma'am thought it is there, it won't just happen like that. It is there. You have to make it there.
I'm excited now. You know, this
I'm so glad. And if you read the story by O. Henry, you'll be even more excited.
And this is not there in the first AR, because
I know.
I wanted to do it, which others were not even aware of.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I'm doing Neeraja's sessions, you know, I want to.
You have to get them excited. You are only managing.
Thank you, Neeraja. This is
You're welcome.
this is
Thank you.
amazing.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it unfolding now.
Yes. But I chose reading as an area for my action research. It appeared so simple that I thought I should just ask everyone to read. And I realized it is not that easy, and I was neither here nor there. Statement led me to visualize my AR journey as a board of game, snakes and ladders. We all have snakes on the board of our lives. I had too many. But we also have ladders. These ladders are like our L4 Sakhis and our mentor Neeraja. The dice kept on rolling and the game went on. The snake in my L4 journey bit me twice, only to realize that I used the best ladder to climb the AR. I'm going to introduce you to one snake and another ladder. How much do you and your teachers read to bring reading as a part of school curriculum? This was the snake bite, the sweet poison that spread all over. And this is when I had to pause and think that reading is my burning desire, not the teachers' or students' desire. I wanted to really climb using all the strategies and techniques, you know, that I got through template 1 and template 2 that I had submitted last time. But then there would be a snake bite. What am I doing? Am I modeling the behavior to bring about those behavioral patterns? We started reading and reviewing, and this reading and reviewing was for and by the teachers. As teachers, we have great impact on students, and thus it is imperative that we model the behaviors that we want to encourage. Similarly, I should model the behavior that I want to encourage in my team of teachers. We started reading stories, short stories, and sharing the takeaways. And I found teachers relating to the characters in the story, and they were reflecting upon. They began to read as they had something to share in the class during the extra time or in the regular reading period. As I was progressing with reading sessions in school, now I'm on a wonderful journey. I'm now reading together and growing together. I restated that statement and put it on the group, and I shared it in one of the meetings. Nandashri immediately mailed and she said she's also working, with her teachers, and I can always, get in touch with her to overcome or, to identify the hurdles. So, this way there are so many ways, that we can move forward. It's only thing we have to ask for, and we have to be open.
What about your teachers? Because you ask them to read, are they reading, or did they really feel like reading them?
See, a small percentage, I can say out of 54, there are 16 or 18 teachers who have taken up reading seriously. Otherwise, it's not the entire group, Nandashri.
The learning is so immense in your AR. See, for us, it's straightforward. See, I have set of children, I can straight away implement. I don't need to, go and convince anyone or otherwise influence anyone or inspire anyone. But for you, it is such a learning.
So that was the clip about the principal who wanted to make her students read. And that was my last slide. So I'm open now for questions and answers. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Could I make a comment?
Yes, please.
I just wanted to just reinforce the idea of using reflective writing with students, and not just, you were talking about younger grade students, but in college. And I have seen such a difference in the last couple of years, because at first my students were just writing a summary. Well, you taught this, and then you taught that, and then you taught that. And so as I devised questions for them to answer, they began to think about, well, what did I learn? What did I notice? How will I use it? And that's sometimes part of their final like exam, is to have that reflective. And I think it's wonderful, because they have to think about what they've learned, not just answer multiple choice questions or something. It's been great.
Thank you, Vicki.
Neeraja ma'am, one observation. When we talk of reflection, we generally think that it comes after an action.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you will agree with me that reflective teaching can take place spontaneously as you are teaching.
I can.
Because that way you can, modify your teaching as it unfolds in the class. Do you agree with me?
I agree with you 100%. In fact, we are doing it unconsciously. We don't call
Yes.
it, we don't say we are doing it. Most teachers, when we teach, we are making eye contact with our students. We're trying to see who's listening, who's not listening.
Not.
Who's not muted, who's muted, for instance. And one is stopping and pausing and saying, look, I want your attention. So what do I
Yes.
do to get your attention? That is online, that is on, spontaneously I am doing some corrective, course correction. That is reflection right during, in the present. not of the past.
Right. And quite recently, I had read a book. I think it is by Richards and Lockhart. Don't know if you've come across it. Reflective Practices in Teaching. It's a very, I remember it to be a
Cultures of
very,
thinking. I think it's called creating cultures of thinking.
yes, something like that.
On Richard, yes. Anyone else? Are there any other questions or Dr. Tonia Grace?
Sonia, just check the chat box also. Any questions are there?
Yes, ma'am. Participants, you may either type the questions in the chat box or you can unmute yourself and ask the questions. Any queries, please?
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
This is Dr. Bala. Where it was indeed a wonderful presentation, and I just took time to respond because I was just contemplating, and I was really highly appreciative of many aspects which you just now highlighted. And yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot for like giving us a huge food for thought. My question is, when it comes to this pandemic, okay, after this, let us positively call it as post-pandemic days. Hopefully, so that is the students' attitude towards reading or writing has drastically gone down, which all teachers would agree with, I suppose.
Yeah.
How do we, like, this is, it's like they have gone into a huge stupor. Do you think the same strategies will be sufficient enough to bring them out of such a lethargic attitude which has steeped recently?
Thank you, Dr. Bala. That's a very valid question, and it's very timely. It's very contextual. It's right where we need to think about this now, you know.
Yes,
so I wish I had one formula to offer. You know that, you know, nobody can give one formula, but I can share with you a story of a teacher who, and it's true, of a teacher who was getting students to write. And there was one student in the class who said, I don't feel like writing about anything. You know, she said, I'm even giving you all a choice. I'm not saying you have to write on this topic. Choose any topic and write on that, because she just wanted to get them to write. So all of them got down to write, but this one student said, I hate writing. I'm not going to write. I hate writing. She said, all right, why don't you write on the topic, why I hate writing? That's the topic. So you see, you make use of this angst, you know, when students are coming back to on offline classes, physical classes, after 1 year and more of hibernation, and they're all feeling so, I don't know, they can't even express it. So there are many ways you can say, okay, I'm going to give you, you know, make a mind map, make thought bubbles. What are all the thoughts coming to your mind when I'm telling you to write? So you sort of loosen their minds. And they can start making bubbles, you know, I won't, I can't, I hate it, I don't want to write, blah, 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 whatever. Let it all out in bubbles. Then you say, okay, now you put it all down. Now can you join a few of those thought bubbles into just phrases? Maybe a few sentences, maybe a paragraph, maybe an essay. So you've slowly, what have you done? You've broken it down into steps. And you've broken it down into steps by allowing them to express their resistance. You're not judging them for their resistance. It's worth trying. There's no guarantee for any method, but here's my suggestion.
Excuse me, ma'am. May I ask a question? I'm Zarina.
Please, Zarina.
May I?
Yes, please go ahead.
Madam, I'm doing action research. I teach in an engineering college. So I'm doing on their spoken skills. Okay, most of my students are from rural area, so I wanted to do. I collected data by audio clips.
Okay.
Their speaking skills. Okay. Now I'll again, after taking some extra classes, I'll take one more time audio clips. I want how to I mean, do the analysis and how to find the result. Like, what is the methodology to follow? Like,
So the question I can't answer in 1 or 2 minutes, Serena. I can just tell you that when you started, you must have had certain parameters against which you were going to work for improvement.
yeah.
Some that I want to improve their pronunciation, their vocabulary, their decoding, their whatever it is.
Yeah,
So,
I should take one skill at a time to improve. You mean to say? Okay, okay.
If you've got those skills clear, then against
Yes.
those skills you can measure for the base.
Okay. How to measure, madam? Like, supposing I have collected their video clip, audio clips, like before attending classes, then after attending classes. Then now how to analyze those?
This is as I told you, a question which cannot be answered in 1 or 2 minutes. I can only give you.
Shall I contact you? I mean, will you please give me your email ID? Then I'll contact you.
They have it. You can take it from Dr.
Sure. Thank you, madam. Thank you so much.
Anyone else?
Any more questions? Any more queries? Thank you very much, ma'am, for your stimulating, challenging lecture where, we have to blur the line between being a teacher and a learner. It was very reinvigorating. Thank you so much, ma'am. And now I request Dr. Nalini Datta to propose the vote of thanks.
Yes. Good morning to all our international speakers, and a very good evening to all our speakers, participants, and organizers here in India. Well, all good things must come to an end, and so has this 6-day international online faculty development program. It's now time for Thanksgiving and leave taking. And in this context, I wish to thank the coordinator of this program, Dr. Bhaskara Sudha, for giving me this wonderful opportunity to propose the vote of thanks. Thank you, Sudha. It is now my pleasing and very pleasant duty to begin by expressing our thanks to the principal of St. Joseph's College, Visakhapatnam, Dr. Sister Shaiji, whose dynamism and vision of the future has made it possible for us to hold several such programs in our college. Sister, we shall always acknowledge and recognize your single-minded devotion to the development of the college, its faculty, and students, and shall never cease to be grateful to you. I next wish to thank each and every member of ELTAI, that is the English Language Teaching Association of India, Visakhapatnam chapter, and particularly Dr. Raghavan Garu, the president of ELTAI, Visakhapatnam chapter, for having so readily agreed to collaborate with the English department of St. Joseph's College on this program. Sir, this collaboration is a matter of great pride and immense prestige for us, and we hope to see several more collaborations with ELTAI in the coming years. Thank you, sir. It is now time to thank all the resource speakers who have filled our hearts with pride and gratitude. Our speaker of day one, Dr. T. Sunitha, Assistant Professor of IIM Visakhapatnam, spoke so earnestly on the need for innovation. Thank you, Sunitha ma'am. Our speaker of day two, Ms. Eileen Finn, former English Language Fellow, Washington State, and her co-host, Mr. Baharin, spoke on all the aspects of digital teaching and learning and reminded us teachers of the need to be willing to learn and make mistakes, which is, of course, the only way to stare technology back in its face and refuse to be intimidated by it. Yes, Eileen, I agree with you. Technology is not visiting, it is here to stay. Thank you very much. Our speaker of day three, Vicki Hale, the English Language Fellow, whom St. Joseph's claims for its own and who makes waves, as I said, every day in her classes here in our college, spoke on developing English language proficiency, and very rightly stressed on the need to help students to think in English and the need for teachers to help the students first build their conversational competence. Thank you very much, Vicki. Our speaker of day four, Dr. Santhosh Patra, acquainted us with a lot of e-tools. Many of us, teachers were not familiar with most of them, but in the course of his talk, he taught us how to create audio clips and podcasts and demonstrated the use of tools for documentation, presentation, and animation. Thank you, sir. Our speaker of day 4, Professor Dr. Rajasekharan of VIT Chennai, spoke on the dynamics of research writing, how to write a research paper, its principles, its components, the parameters to be kept in mind while selecting a research topic, how to identify research tools, and he also suggested several apps for research writing. Thank you, sir, for your valuable input and your wonderful presentation. A speaker of day 6, Dr. Neeraja Raghavan, Director of Thinking Teacher, Bengaluru, spoke on reflective practices in teaching and learning. She had expressed many of her concerns, some of which are our concerns as well. Neeraja ma'am, I loved your Tanpura metaphor. It was so very apt. The pause that helps us to stop and reflect. Yes, a reflective practitioner makes you both an experienced and an expert teacher. The role of reflection cannot be underrated. After all, we learn from experience, and reflection has a very specific goal, and it is goal and improvement oriented. Thank you, ma'am, for your very, very valuable input and your very stimulating. On behalf of St. Joseph's College Department of English, I wish to convey our heartfelt gratitude to each and every resource person for sharing their expertise with all the teachers on this program. We are extremely grateful and so touched by the graciousness with which you accepted our invitation to this program and the effort and time that every one of you has invested in making this program so useful and productive to our teaching community. Thank you all once again for the generosity you all have shown in sharing your PPTs with us. Next, I wish to thank all our teacher participants for their punctuality and regularity in attending the sessions. I thank them too for their enthusiasm, for their restraint, for their cooperation, all which they have displayed at every session. Thank you. Thank you to all the staff members of the English department who have helped in the organization of this program and volunteered to act as moderators at each session. A big thank you to the Public Relations Officer at St. Joseph's College for Women, Ms. Ramani Dhanraj, for being the first person to be present at every session and for overseeing the successful overall conduct of each session. Thank you, Ramani, for being with us. Last but not at all the least, I wish to thank the coordinator of the online faculty development program, Dr. Bhaskara Sudha, for her unstinted efforts to make this program a success. Thank you all once again. Jai Hind.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Now I request Dr. Jai Sudha, English Teachers Association, Visakhapatnam chapter, to say the concluding remarks. Dr. Jai Sudha?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, one and all present here. I'm Dr. Jai Sudha, Vice President, ELTAI Visakhapatnam chapter. Feel really very happy to be here and to convey my sincere regards and thanks on behalf of ELTAI Visakhapatnam chapter. Firstly, let me convey my wholehearted congratulations to the Department of English, St. Joseph's College for Women, for the grand success of this one-week online international FTP on trends and trend setting in the 21st century. Congratulations, Drs. Bhaskara Sudha Madam and the team. We also extend our sincere thanks to all the speakers of this FTP, Dr. T. Sunitha, Assistant Professor IIM Vizag, Mrs. Eileen Finn, former English Language Fellow, Washington State, Mrs. Vicki Hale, Virtual English Language Fellow, US Department of State, Dr. Santhosh Mahapatra, BITS Pilani, Hyderabad, Dr. Rajasekharan, Professor of English, VIT Chennai, and finally, thanks to the speaker of today's session, Dr. Neeraja Raghavan, Director of Thinking Teacher, Bengaluru. I'm glad to take this opportunity to thank each and every speaker personally for making this FTP a grand success. Thank you all. I must convey our gratitude and heartfelt thanks to Professor Mohan Raj Garu for his valuable support in organizing this event. Our sincere thanks to Dr. Raghavendra, President, ELTAI Visakhapatnam chapter. Further, thanks to the core committee and all other members of ELTAI Visakhapatnam chapter. I would also like to thank the organizing team, teachers and staff members of St. Joseph's College for Women Visakhapatnam for the smooth conduct of this event. We are looking forward to organizing many more events like this in future, ma'am. And lastly, I would like to express my deep sense of appreciation and thanks to the wonderful participants for making this FTP a huge success. Thank you all for giving me this opportunity. Over to you, ma'am, Tonia Grace.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sudha. Thank you so much. Participants, do you have any queries? Any more queries? I have posted the assessment test link and the feedback link also in the chat box. Kindly finish the test before 12 midnight. It will open from 7 to 12, and after that it will automatically get closed. So later don't ask us to reopen it.
Ma'am,
sorry to interrupt, ma'am.
Needed
The
permission
link,
from your side,
assessment
madam.
test link is not working. It says needs permission.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, one
You
second.
need permission.
I'll
That
check
is the
it.
response.
I'll check it.
We'll check that by the time Sudha checks it and Neeraja goes off line.
Yes, ma'am.
We would-
Let's go with the pick. Meanwhile, I'll check this.
Please put on your videos, all of you, including Dr. Neeraja. And yeah, thank you. Please put on your videos and sport your best smile because we need this picture is so important. Yeah, I see everybody ready. Nagakala, Sirisha, Surya, Srinivas, Shetty. Yes, Christine, Sudanarayana, Sunil. Please, the others, I'm waiting for the others. Bhanukiran, Ishwar Reddy, Sudha, please switch on your video. We'd like to see you from ELTAI. Yeah, that's good.
Definitely, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much. That's good. Now, when I say 1, 2, 3, cheese, please smash. I know all of you are so beautiful. Please smile your beautiful smile. 1, 2, 3, cheese. Once again, another take. 1, 2, 3, cheese. Thank you. That'll be all. Sudha, shall I end with the national anthem and then you go on to the other thing?
Yes, participants, I will check this and I will repost it again in the WhatsApp group, the assessment test.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we'll call it a day. If you have any queries, please post in the WhatsApp group.
Okay. Meanwhile, we'll end officially with the national anthem. And I'm requesting all of you to stand by for the national anthem.
Yes, somebody wants to ask anything?
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, ma'am.
Yes, no problem. Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations on the successful completion of 1 week international FDP program, and thank you very much for giving us this opportunity. It has been wonderful to be part of this program. Thank you.
Hello, ma'am.
Ramani ma'am, you are on mute, ma'am.
Yeah, please stand by for the national anthem. After that, we can still have a chat, right? Hind.
Jai Hind.
Now you may have a chat with Sudha or whatever doubts you have.
Ho gaya.
Okay. A big clap to the round of applause to the English department, especially Dr. Sudha, Mr. Nirmala, Lata,
Thank you, ma'am.
Dr.
Thank
Sonia,
you. Thank you.
Pramila, Veena, Sister Christine, and everybody who's been part of this. And all the participants, especially. Nagakala, we missed you yesterday.
Sorry, ma'am. Sorry. Yesterday there was a technical glitch. I started. Later on, there was some problem. I couldn't connect till the end. I'm so sorry about it.
Okay. And we are very thankful to Dr. Shiny, Dr. Shiny, the principal of JMJ College, Tenali, who was there
Thank you,
all the
madam.
days.
Thank
and
you
was
so
there
much.
till the end.
I'm belong to the
Eileen.
Department of English.
I know. Correct. And you were smiling till the end and you were switching on your video. Thank you so much.
Madam, assessment link is not working, madam. It's a permission is needed. It's showing.
Okay. So the ma'am will set that
rectify.
right. She will
Yes,
rectify.
yes, I will.
She'll
I'm
rectify.
just looking into it. Sister, I
Okay.
will-
Thank you. Thank you.
She'll not leave you in the air. She'll look into it. She'll make sure. So that you finish it successfully. Otherwise, and she might, if it is taking some time, she'll extend some time. Don't worry. So she's a hard taskmaster, but she's a kind-hearted
No,
soul
it is
also.
telling you need permission.
Yeah, maybe she has to.
It was a great pleasure for me, ma'am, to attend this and learn more. I really take it as a very, informative session, insightful sessions, not only one, all of them. And I'm really happy to be a part of it. I'm glad actually. I would wish to be in presence and let us meet sometime. And
Sure.
thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Ravi.
Good evening, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, can you keep? Hello.
Yes.
Can you hear me, ma'am?
Yes, Nawaz, please tell.
Oh, ma'am, it is a very nice section, ma'am. For 1 week, you have keep the 50 very nice section, madam. We have learned so much. If it is offline, it is very effective, ma'am. Keep offline and keep offline for like this program and inform us, ma'am.
True. Thank you, Nawaz. Right?
We will definitely.
Yeah,
We
thank
will
you so
definitely
much
attend this programs.
for your kind appreciation. All that.
And
goes
we are
to the-
coming. We are working in a triple IT, ma'am.
Oh, very good. Okay.
We will definitely implement this program. This much teaching aspects. All this to our students.
So
Definitely,
nice.
ma'am.
So
We
nice.
learned a lot of things from you.
Yeah, the whole team. No, beautiful. Wonderful team of
Good
resource
evening, ma'am. May I
speakers.
have a word, please?
Yes.
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening.
Yes.
I'm Dr. Bala from Tamil Nadu. I'm from Tamil Nadu.
Tell me.
Apart from the way your entire team works, I just would like to give a very personal compliment to Dr. Ramani. Yeah, I it was like, every session ends with a smile. Every session, it's like, you have a reason to go to bed with a huge smile on your face. And this is one thing which I really feel is a takeaway from this 6-day FDP. This again has become a part and parcel of this development program.
Vanakkam amma, Bala, romba nandri ma. Thank you ma.
வணக்கம்மா ரொம்ப சந்தோஷமா இருக்கு எனக்கு.
அப்படியா?
I do believe in doing things with pleasure, for pleasure's sake, art for art's sake, it need not have any other purpose. ஒரு விஷயம் செய்யறோம்னா அதை செய்யறோங்கிற சந்தோஷத்துக்காக செய்யணும். Amazing yours was. I really
St.
apart
Joseph's,
apart from all the key takeaways from this program, I will really remember your
Praise God, yeah, Bala, because The college, St. Joseph's, gives us
Yes, ma'am.
so much. And for
I was
having been in the college for 36 years, there's so much I owe to the college. 36 long years, and not a day
I was
have I.
able to recognize. Yes, ma'am. I was able to recognize that. I really, really want to compliment your entire institution also for that. Because
you so
once,
much,
for that sake, what I do is till the moment you literally push us out of this room, I wait and observe the way you were all interacting with each other. I was enjoying it actually, not just observation. I was just enjoying it.
So kind of
Happy to see people happy.
You're from
Thank
Trichy,
you, ma'am.
no? You're
Thank
from
you.
you're from Tuticorin? Where are you?
No, I'm from Tuticorin. I'm from Tuticorin, Maharashtra College.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, I have been a coordinator for umpteen forums, and I do go as resource person. So I really know what effort it takes to be behind the screen to organize such things. And organizing it with a smile is a huge achievement. It's really a jewel on your crown.
Thank you so much. So I'll take your number from Sudha ma'am and I'll get in touch with you. Right? I'll be in touch with you. Okay.
My pleasure.
Sure, Pa. Thank you, Pa.
Please, real credit.
Thank you so much, Bala. Thank you so much. I'm honored, man. And I'm humbled. I'm humbled. That's all I can say. Thank you so much.
No, I feel like, when you meet people who can smile from their heart, it is a real pleasure. It is a blessing, not just a pleasure. It's a blessing. You make the world better. You make the world definitely a better place.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Please be in touch. Please be in touch,
Yes,
ma'am.
I'll be in touch, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Sudha, shall we call it today? Sudha doesn't want to call today.
Yes, ma'am. One second. Dear participants, we are checking into the technical issue of this assessment test. Once it's rectified, I'll post it in the WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
Okay.
You'll give them some extra time.
Meanwhile, you can fill the feedback form which is posted.
Please give them some extra time for the
assessment. Yes, definitely. I'll give them extra time.
Bala, you know something, Bala? Dr. Sudha is my boss. She was my student. To cut a long story short, she was my student, but now she's my boss.
But that makes the teacher even more happier.
Yeah.
That is the achievement directly to the teacher.
We keep teasing her, Sudha, she's my boss, we keep teasing her. So you can see, she'll smile shyly. That's all. Sudha will not say a word. And Sister Lata, Sister Nirmala was also my student. Sister Sonia was our student. So, that's what makes St. Joseph's the best part of anybody's journey. When you're surrounded by such beautiful people, Sister Lata, all great people, all great teachers.
And Dr. Sudha, I hope you don't fail any one of us after the test.
No, she won't fail. I'll make sure she doesn't fail you, okay?
Okay, ma'am.
I'll be behind her. She might say, no way, don't interfere with marking, but I'll believe her, don't worry, okay?
Yeah. So one more way we are indebted to you today. Pleasure. Hope we meet again.
We'll meet. Don't worry, we'll meet.
Yeah, the former respondents said we should meet on in-person forums also.
Yeah, we should. No, I know. So that apart from COVID, we should be able to shake hands, give a big hug, hug somebody close to the heart and say even I love you. That's it.
Yes,
okay. Vijay Lakshmi, we missed you. Nagakala, Vijay Lakshmi, pleasure meeting all of you.
Ramani ma'am, I wanted to say one thing. I just remembered my convent school days when all my sisters would call me Nagakala. The same way you called. I was just so happy about it.
It's a beautiful name. Naga and Kala, both are a fantastic combination. Yeah.
My father's had chosen this name.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. Very nice. Right? Vijayalakshmi, have a nice day. Okay.
Wonderful session, ma'am. You conducted a wonderful organization and teamwork. Ma'am,
Yeah.
it's my opportunity given by God. Nirmala, I can.
Sister Nirmala, she's always one charming lady.
Yeah.
And so in spite of having so many stresses, you know, she's.
I was remembering Sister Marcian, who was my primary school headmistress.
Okay. And she's the hostel warden. And she's got loads of students on her head, stresses on her head. In spite of that, she smiles always, you know?
Yeah. That is why the loads of students like her.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Madam,
Thank you,
please
ma'am.
resolve
Thank you
the
so
problem
much.
of assessment test, madam.
Don't
Sir,
worry, Pradeep.
Sudha ma'am has already announced there is a technical issue, sir, that we are facing right now. So tomorrow, I think we will be able, when as soon as the issue is resolved, we will put it in the chat, in the WhatsApp, sir.
Okay, thank you, madam.
Madam, even the feedback link, please.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
feedback
Yes, sir.
link is in the chat box, but that also Sudha ma'am will post it. Don't
Yes,
worry.
we'll post it.
Don't be like students, yeah. Don't get so much of stress and tension, yeah. Cool it, yeah. What is that?
Pandemic need to get a pass, ma'am.
No, I only thought, see how much we are, when students say that, no, we tell them, don't have stress. Look at the tension and stress for everybody. Please send, ma'am. When will you send, ma'am? Will you give us extra time, ma'am? All that. We are always lifelong learners. You know, we don't leave those learner buddhulu, learner habits. Stanley, you didn't say anything.
మనం ఎప్పుడు విద్యార్థులమే కదా.
Correct. Lifelong, correct. Nagakala, very nice Telugu you're speaking, Nagakala.
My mother tongue is Telugu, ma'am.
Oh, బాగా మాట్లాడుతున్నావు అయితే, very good.
ఆంధ్ర నుండి వచ్చేసాం ఇటువైపు, మైసూర్లో ఉంటాను.
So that's what.
So you should visit Mysore.
Little Kannadiga accent is there, la? Swalpa gottu.
Kannada, Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam అన్ని చేరిపోయింది నా భాషలో.
అవునా?
అన్ని మాట్లాడతాను. అంటే కొంచెం షిఫ్ట్ చేసే టైంలో కొంచెం తేడా వస్తుంది.
Correct. Okay, Stanley, hope you finish your MA linguistics.
మైసూర్కి రండి మేడం.
Sure.
మమ్మల్ని విజిట్ చేయండి.
Alage, Bangalore I keep coming. My aunt and whole cousins stay, and surely we shall visit Mysore. My friends also.
I'll send you my contact number.
Sure. See you, Nagakala. Bye.
Okay,
Sudha, shall we call it today? Stilata, shall we call it today?
Thank you.
Okay. See you then, Shabba Khair. Good night.
Ma'am, one second. It seems some of them have already done the assessment test. It's opening. Please check your internet connections and check your settings.
Okay, Dr. Sudha, that's good.
Yeah, so just now I got the information. Some of them have said they have completed the assessment.
Okay,
even I'm just checking the response sheet. 1 second. You tell how many of them have already done.
Okay. Once you tell me that, then I'll say Shabba Khair, Subratri, good night, Sayonara, all together.
Ma'am, do we wait here after this one until the session is?
1 second. 1 second, sister. Just hold on. I'm just putting in the card.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Yes, we already got 5 responses. It's working. Can you hear me?
Yes. Shall we wind up, Sudha?
Yes, yes, we'll wind up. We'll wind up.
Okay, then. Good night. Thank you, Dr. Sudha. Thank you, Susilata, once again.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you all of you. Thank all the participants. Have a nice, wonderful weekend, right? And not just weekend, have a nice year. May God bless you with loads and loads of success. Okay, it's bye from St. Joseph's College for now. Meet you again in another fruitful FTP. Okay, bye, Stanley. Bye.
Thank you.
Good day.
Bye.
Good night.
Thank you, dear participants, for being with us for all the 6 days.
Yeah,
Thank
correct.
you very much for sparing your time.
Yes. Okay, then. See you again.
Assessment required the
Bye.
permission.
Pardon, sir?
Assessment required the permission.
But it's already working. See, you just check in the chat box already. Some of them have messaged it's working, and they've also, I've got the
No,
response.
it's asking the permission.
Just check, sir, once again. If you just send it to me, I will give the permission if in case some of you are
In the WhatsApp group, yeah.
It's asking permission.
Or you can send your email, sir, ma'am will send personally.
Send it in the
Me too is
WhatsApp
saying the
group.
same message.
Participants, please don't get worried about the test. I will again repost it in the WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
And then you can check, okay?
I know. Don't worry. Don't worry. Be good students.
Okay,
You
thank
can
you.
All
send
the best.
messages to Sudha ma'am or in
Yeah.
the chat, in the WhatsApp.
All the best for your assessment. Don't worry. Everybody will pass in flying colors. Bye. Bye.